eyes opened, and she stared straight into the face of a clock. It was 1 minute past 12. She took another mouthful of air and let out a high-pitched scream. Her skin was still blue, but no one could doubt that she was now very much alive. Although the date of her birth was officially the 31st of December, Lilly Nelly Aphrodite's first breath was taken in the 20th century. It was as if, the midwife said, as she tried to console the child's mother, she was determined to wait. A certain willfulness was noted, and when, in the coming months, she screamed and sobbed and could not be comforted no matter what, her mother blamed that night, that midwife, and that hand-woven cloth that she had been so stupidly sentimental to accept from her stuttering Bavarian lover, and that, he eventually admitted, he had been given by a former mistress who had traveled to Constantinople and been locked in a sultan's harem for an entire year before she managed to escape with nothing but the dress she was wearing and a suitcase full of precious cloth. Later, much later, while her parents finally slept, the new baby lay awake and stared out at the orange sodium night. In rings around Potsdamer Platz and all along the wiggle of the River Spree, 100,000 electric bulbs lit up in strings. Although it has been many places at many times, Berlin, at that moment, was a city not built but randomly piled around the provincial capital of Prussia. It was a metropolis where smokestacks exhaled and factories whistled, where telephone wires hummed and the tracks of the underground lines shrieked with excitement with each passing train. In 1900, Berlin was a place where workers flocked in their millions to live in crowded tenements in the newly constructed suburbs and commute by tram to work. It was a city where writers and artists rented garrets and starved themselves into shape. It was a city without memory, a city without tradition. In Berlin, freedom came face to face with casual indifference, and nobody minded what happened next. Lilly Nelly Aphrodite was conceived in a Wanderkino, pitched in the Tiergarten at a screening of Georges Méliès's film Escamotage d'une dame au théâtre Robert Houdin. Tantalized by the smell of canvas and libidinous clatter of this radical new invention, her parents watched the actress Jeanne d'Alcy turn from flesh to skeleton 5 times before they consummated their brief acquaintance in the darkened back row beneath his greatcoat. The Bavarian lover claimed that he was a speculator about to invest his fortune in German topicalities. In fact, he had little interest in cinema, and that day he had merely ducked into the tent to hide from a woman he had had an affair with a few years before. But fate, if you believe in it, had placed the man from the south in the seat next to the pretty young actress. And as the rain thrummed relentlessly against the fly sheet and the Frenchwoman disappeared into thin air all over again, it seemed suddenly as if death was much closer than either of them had realized, and the moment, the flickering moment, was all either had to lose. It was an illusion, of course, created within Méliès's camera using stop-motion photography. By the time the pregnancy was diagnosed, it was much too late to halt it. Although he initially suggested otherwise, however, the philandering Bavarian wasn't about to play the responsible father to his illegitimate offspring. Likewise, the actress wasn't ready to be a mother to anyone. The baby's first home was a cramped apartment 2 blocks south of the Kurfürstendamm. Her mother, a writer, actress, and occasional member of a cabaret group in the vein of Munich's own 11 Executioners, was seldom home by bedtime and seldom awake by lunch. When the two were together, her mother smothered her with kisses, but had little patience for games of peekaboo or catch. At first, she had tried to write the opus that had been sprawling in her mind for years, while her daughter clambered on her lap and screamed for milk. Ink was spilled, manuscripts rendered illegible, and white dresses